Hey guys, and thank you for joining me today in my wave. And in today's interesting story time, I wanted to go ahead and introduce a mind bending possibility that once we learn how to practice and incorporate that into our daily rituals and practices, we start to quickly discover the possibility that we may not be able to change the past, but we can sure recreate the way we perceive it. Now, what do I mean by this? When it comes to my story time, there is a practice I do that I call it quantum healing. And what quantum healing entails is basically me going back in time to a moment in time, which time is technically an illusion and everything is happening right now at this very moment simultaneously. So I'm saying time to make it a quick understanding of what I mean, but in reality, what I am doing is I am bringing my conscious awareness back into that moment in that time, like when you're going through pictures and you're scrolling through the projector, let's say it's only roaming one picture at a time at a certain speed, at a certain velocity that makes it motion. But in this point, I'm going back in time to a moment where now my conscious awareness, with the pursuit driven by my intention, is going to experience it together with my unconscious participating self as a human being and my higher conscious mind intentionally going back to that time in particular to kind of like sending a message, but it's not necessarily sending a message. It is appearing in that moment in time as a guidance to me. So you see how there are times that we feel that we are being divinely guided, which we are. But there are some moments that those divinely guided moments appear right on time, where it has a resonance and a synchronized message or occurrence that you think to yourself, only I would know that I would pay attention to that. Only I would know that I would respond to that. Only I would know myself that well to know that that's exactly what I needed so that I can get that message. And it is not to say that the divine guidance that we have, God, universe, creator, the all that is, right, doesn't have the same knowing, because we are indeed the image of God, the creator, the universe. So it's just a fractalized version of itself into infinite possibilities of experiences. But bringing me back to my story, the story is of me as a child. There was a moment that I was about 2 or 3 years old, but I don't remember my age, but I do recall the moment because I was in the embodiment of that emotional state as a child. And I remember being present in the moment because I was sitting, feeling what I was feeling. And it was the first time that I had felt this, which is why I can go back to that moment. Because in my quantum healing, as I was processing these emotions that were resurfacing that came from childhood memories, I was able to go back in time to the first time I ever felt that, so that I can better understand and comprehend the wounding that I was still dealing with as an adult. So the practice of self-reflection and self-observation of one's patterns, it was the practice that was currently taking place. And in this particular day, I was going back in time with my conscious awareness with the intention to consult, nurture, and motivate myself as if I myself were to be what I needed at that very moment in time. And even though I couldn't change that past experience of why I felt that way, of what had occurred, and so on, I was able to be present for myself with just the intention of wanting to do that for myself. being the nurturing person that at that age I needed, being the loving and caring individual that I needed as a child. And when I went to my child self, I envisioned myself doing this. This is not like I went back in time and zapped myself into it. It was more of a moment of allowing myself to be one with that memory and being present in that memory as if I was to indeed be there. And in order for us to know what it is to be anywhere and align ourselves to that possibility, we need to know what it feels like to do so. This is why being present is so powerful, because in order for us to know where we are, where we want to be, and where we were, it is through the navigation of our own emotional states and the awareness of each and every time these different emotions are resurfacing and allowing us the experience of these emotions. So in this case, all I really had to do was place my intention into being in that time and space, remembering all the sensations that I was feeling, what I was looking at, what I was smelling, what I was touching, what I was doing, how I felt. And there I was in that moment through my emotional imaginary state. Meaning that through the mentalism of all creation, I was able to voyage within my own mental capacity and find my way back to that time that I needed what I was now giving and able to give myself, because I was healing. So then I was seeing myself differently. I was understanding what was it that I needed. Therefore, I went back to recuperate that void by giving it the love and the nurturing and the confines and the motivation and the guidance that I needed. And to us, it may not seem like much, but I must say that it didn't change what had occurred, but it changed the way I perceived it. And I'm going to bring it back, and maybe we can all relate to this. When certain things happen in our life, and we quickly realize that even though this occurred, I did not feel alone. I felt as I was being guided. I felt as I was being loved. I felt like I was being protected. I felt like something was telling me what to do. Sounds familiar? What is it to say that it's always been us giving ourselves those messages, because we are coming from the awareness and the consciousness of that perceived future, which is in this now moment. And we know the end of that season. We see where the future is heading. And with that knowing, we get to show ourselves through displays of visions or feelings or thoughts. What is it that we need to hear? This is why when you heal and you become expanded in your awareness of all your possibilities, you do more good with it than not healing and remaining stuck in your ignorance and remaining stuck in the victim mentality, that even throughout all your possibilities, that feeling keeps you trapped in your own mental limitation through your own self-assumptions and your self-concept being what it is, because you have yet to do the work at any point in your life so that you can assist yourself throughout all time and space of your life. You see, this might be a bit much right now. The story is going to bring me into the classic conundrum of the question that what came first, the egg or the chicken, right? So many people question it. Most don't know. But my theory, based on my own experience, because I like to only justify things based on my own personal experience, with the amplification of the things that I've learned, of course, to validate certain theories and philosophies that I already currently have through these personal experiences. And in the case of that personal experience, in my case, it was funny because when this question would be asked in my groups of philosophy talking and all these things, I always said, Well, obviously, the egg comes first before any animal that is born out of an egg, because there's always a form of mutation that can occur in the egg, and the egg is only the environment that any genetic imprint can actually exist. So I can basically take a chicken egg and make it into another animal through the mutation of combining maybe another imprint of a genetic, and through the combination of the chicken DNA and the other one that I introduce creates a whole new breed of an animal, right? So to me, the answer was always the egg comes first. But then after having that experience, the reason why I'm going to clarify is because what I was telling myself as a child, as my spirit self, or as my conscious awareness, which everything is consciousness, observing itself through the experience of all things. But through my conscious awareness, and I went to myself, what I was doing was I was nurturing myself with love. I was sending myself love. I was telling myself that I am so proud of you, of the woman that you will become, of all the changes that you will make, of how strong you are, how independent and loving and nurturing you will always remain, right? This is me telling myself from the experience of myself now. But I wasn't that at 2 and 3 years old. I was still in my developmental stages of life, right? I was starting my journey there, but I was not yet that. I was just being, not yet becoming what I was projecting onto me. So just like that, I said, wait a minute. What truly comes first is the intention. The same way I had the intention to go back in time and console myself and love myself and allow myself to know that even though you feel alone right now in this moment, you will never be alone, because throughout all time, I am here with you, guiding you, shielding you, protecting you, because I know how everything is flowing. Therefore, when there is a moment that you might need to think, that you might need to step back, that you might need to go, that you might need to remove yourself or stay, I am going to make sure to reflect back on those moments that I needed to change that decision, and I will be right there for you. So the whole trajectory of my life, who's to say it was not being influenced by the future version of myself in this now moment and the moment prior? Bringing me back to the question. What came first was not even the egg, was the intention of creating the egg. Because what if the egg was nothing at all? But the intention of making something grow, the intention of creating life and bringing life into being, I spoke the words of my intention, you see. And when you have an intention and you speak life into things, they will blossom and grow as you are cultivating the words. For in the beginning, there was the word. So what is to say that the egg before anything was only but a rock? We really don't know. But based on the patterns, and everything always comes full circle, the full circle of the snake is always eating its tail. Everything is always going to come back to the same position where it started. When you are placing the good intention to heal yourself in the now, in the past, in the future, in the present, your life is always going to be a cyclical motion of that very intention, because you are yourself looking out for yourself throughout all time and space when you place yourself in that intentional, motivating aspect. You start the momentum at one point and it's going to connect all points. And the same thing if you go opposite. If you start a negative point and don't change it, it's going to continue. The whole entirety of your experience will now be perceived with the negative perception that you have now cultivated within you in this now moment, because everything is only but a now moment, which is why when I was not healed from that wound that I was going back to heal, the way I saw that experience was from a different perspective. I saw it in a negative light because I was still hurt by the experience. I was still wounded by that experience. So the way I would express that experience, if I ever even did, was from a place of a victim. from a place of poor me, because I was still hurt and I was still wounded. But when I made that decision to no longer be that and become more of the potential that I had to be, all of that changed with all of my life experiences, because now I see the why behind my life experiences and understanding that it was all happening for me and not to me, so that I can become this very person I am speaking to right now. As I am speaking to you to guide you is the same way I was doing for myself, because what I do for others, I am really truly only doing for myself. And when my intention is to serve my past version of self, my current self, my aspects of myself within the all that we are, as we are all connected and we are all one, that's always going to come back to me when I need it to come back to me, right? Because I am always being that for myself. Even when I was 2 and 3 years old, and I didn't know what the possibility of that was. I knew and I felt that there was something always looking out for me. And I've been saying this since I can remember. I've been saying this. Like, I feel like I'm not alone. I feel like there's something watching me all the time, making sure I'm good. And all the miracles that have occurred in my life, that just like, how did, like things would just appear or disappear, or just moments that just put you to question, like, wait a minute, there's something to this. And once I start picking up and maneuvering myself through the navigating of these possibilities, and I keep doing it, going back in time and saying, hey, after this, you're going to feel like this. But let me tell you something. Once you overcome this, you're going to be exactly who you need to be. You're going to be exactly who you came to be. And you're going to do so much, not only for yourself, but for many people. And that feeds me enough to know that everything is going to be okay. That allows me to have faith and trust in the process, because I have yet to be disproven of that very philosophy that I am living by, once I realize that that's what has been occurring my whole entire life. And I've been even asked, like, how can you go through certain things and always overcome it and just be okay? And it looks like you never went through anything. And the truth answer is because of this very thing that I'm explaining to you. I get to see the end result based on the guidance and the influences that I'm getting from my future self, which before I thought it was angels and guides, and all along was me watching over me with the guidance of this aspect of my life through the divine connection of source, right? Because I am one with the source of the all, of God, of the universe, of the intelligence that maybe holds this quote unquote stimulation, whatever it might be. When you are tuned in, tapped in, and turned on to the possibilities of all existence, and you know that everything that you are connected to, which is everything that exists, is you are one with, you know and see yourself through it all. You no longer hold grudges because you see the self of yourself. You see the aspects of yourself within the other. You are able to forgive because you know that by forgiving, you are removing the burdens and the weight off of yourself, so that you can remain solidify in the vibration that you would prefer to. Because understanding that if I hold grudges and resentment and can't forgive, guess what? I'm only going to remain in this level, because that baggage is only going to hold me down. I'm never going to be able to elevate. Just me knowing that, I'm like, I will let go gracefully, because I'm trusting the process. Trust the process and let go. It's not serving me to hold on to it. What they did and what they said and whatever happened, that's a they problem. It has nothing to do with me. Everyone has their own experience based on their own perception, based on their own beliefs, based on their own wounds, based on their programming and conditioning and culture and all of that. All of that correlates to how they act towards others, because they are only really truly projecting how they treat themselves externally. So you can't expect individuals that can't really love themselves, that can't really respect themselves, that can't really have boundaries and self-love for themselves, right? to give that to you. A person that's lying to themselves can't be honest with you. How? If they're already living a lie, they only know lies, right? So why expect something that they can't even give you, even if they tried? Because even when they're doing it, when you're stepping into truth, you're quickly going to realize it's not genuine. It's a lie. It's a fabricated assumption, and sometimes more than likely an illusion that they create within themselves, because God forbid the truth is hitting them in the face. It might create a cognitive dissonance and a shock goes off, and now they feel attacked, when in reality it's just the fact that new truths, new ideas, and new perceptions contradicts their current beliefs, and they rather be comfortable in the knowing of predicting their outcome, and they're okay with that because they fear the unknown, and they could only measure the things that they would lose and not the things that they would gain. So they fear the unknown rather than allowing it to just be and see what happens. It might give you a better outcome. And it was because I was able to be brave enough to step into that process for myself and heal those aspects of me and come into the realization that I needed to do work on myself as I was self-reflecting and observing my own patterns, my own attractions, what I was doing to validate those wounds and those voids within me, right? And then thinking, this is not what I really want. This is not what I want to experience. I am now becoming aware as I become the observer of my experience that this is also me living a lie. This is also me playing this facade and persona so that I can blend in and fit in. But I don't want to fit in. I want to be able to be who I am meant to be. And from doing so, allow myself to become fully me. And by that fully becoming, then I align with the ones that are supposed to be here, with the things that I'm supposed to be doing, because I will be my vibrational alignment to do so. You see, it's no more of a forcing of wanting to fit in, of doing the things that are common, because you no longer care, because you have healed those aspects of you that needed that external validation to verify that you quote unquote matter, that you are quote unquote important. But if you're not that for yourself, why would anyone think that? Everyone's living just a lie together. And if you live a lie, you're going to attract those that live lies with you, because everybody is wounded in some degree. Everybody is living a perception that doesn't allow them to be their best version of themselves or step into their full potential. Everyone has fears and insecurities. And if we don't all work together to be there for one another and not necessarily point out those things, but allow others to see that it is possible to become better and do the work and step into your full embodiment of self through the essence, through the expression of your essence, then it's a natural state of empowerment just by simply being. You don't have to say anything. You just have to be that which you are, and it would radiate and it would be obvious to those without even having to speak, you see. And it would be the most beautiful thing, because if you realize that once we heal those aspects of ourselves, people will be a lot happier about their life, about who they are. If those insecurities and those fears would start fading away, let's say, how much do you think you would do and become? Right? That was a question I had to ask myself. So much would change if we just took the leap into that possibility. So to end this story, I must say that when we apply the intention to our actions and we actually create the reality that we want based on what we are deciding to entertain, what we are deciding to work on, and so on, life becomes more intentional as you become more consciously aware of what is it that is truly occurring, and you're no longer playing a automatic default of your life, but actually truly being present and allowing yourself to step into that full potential and heal those aspects of you even in the past. Like I said, we may not be able to change history, but we can definitely recreate it by the way we choose to perceive it. Because if it wasn't for those moments, for example, that I had, I wouldn't be the person I am today. And at that moment, yeah, it might have seemed a certain way, it might have seemed cruel, it might have seemed like I wanted more. But if it wasn't for that moment, one, I would have never went back to that moment as my conscious awareness to guide and love on myself like that. But also, it wouldn't have built the character that I am proud to be today, right? Life is always happening for us and not to us. And all we have to do is find the why behind it so that we can learn the lesson and overcome those aspects so that we can evolve and transcend into the next level of ourselves. So if that is something that you are ready to do and you are ready to take the leap into doing so, I invite you to search down below in the description where you can find all my information and the courses that will soon be available, as I will introduce content, program, courses, workshops, and more on a variety of topics and concepts that will enhance you and help you out in your process to self-mastery. Thank you.